thank you and welcome to the Fitness Network podcast. And we asked you guys on because basically I want this channel to cover everything that's kind of fitness related. It's not just about competing with bodybuilding or anything like that, but it's to give people a broader view of everything. And I think one thing that I've always noticed with federations is, you know, it varies across the board as to where people are on the scale. I think some are kind of more modelly ones and some are much more hardcore bodybuilding. But also I honestly don't know, and I really don't think most competitors know what goes into running a show. So that would be really interesting, I think, you know, and how you guys got started and everything like that, really. Yeah.
Okay.
You're the best at explaining that.
Rosy, have we met before? Apologies if we haven't, I don't remember.
Yes, in my very first year. So I competed first in 2018. So I did PCA, UKUP, and then I would have competed with you guys. It would have been September time.
Yeah.
So I did. I can't say it was the greatest. I don't think that was my best show. Don't think it was my best look, if I'm honest. But you know, you learn every single show, so it was a great experience, definitely.
Yeah. Did you do a lot of shows back to back?
I always do. I did 10 last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
I think my longest off season has been 5 weeks.
5 days.
Yeah. So I think it's easy because I'm bikini class. You know, it's not. We don't have to live at such a low body fat as the guys. So I think we can do back to back ones.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think sometimes maybe it's something we can touch on. One of the things I always talk about with bikini, I know a lot of bikini competitors like going through the experience of water manipulation and all that. You don't need to do it.
No.
It's just a waste. It's just a waste of time. It's unhealthy. You're literally only doing it for the experience of pain, and that's it.
Yeah. Yes. So we'll get into the questions. So how did you both get into the fitness industry to start with?
I guess it started with your health, I guess.
Yeah, so in 2011, I think it was 2011, I was diagnosed with a lung condition.
Okay.
And I was put onto medication. And I remember the number one side effect that they said was that you put on weight.
Oh.
And I was like, there's no way this tablet can make me get fat. Like, what would make me put on body weight is eating loads of food and being inactive. So I did a 12-week transformation. I think it was for USN, wasn't it? That's how it started. It was a USN 12-week transformation. And at the end of it, I had a few sort of interviews. I appeared in a local newspaper, British Lung Foundation, a few magazines and websites and things. And the gym at the end of my road, where I had a photo shoot, Tim Chase used to train there.
Oh, Tim, yeah.
So I got talking to him. So this is basically now, it's 2012. So I'm talking to Tim, and he said he's doing a show. And he's doing a fitness model show. At that time, I'd only ever heard of, obviously, bodybuilding. Everyone knew UKBFF and NABBA. And he said he's got this fitness model show. And he said not many people are going to watch. And to be honest, I didn't really know him. It was just a guy in the gym that worked there. I didn't know him. Like, I'd never been out for a drink with him or nothing. And I walked home and I said to Janine, we're going to go and watch Tim in a show. And we went and watched the show, which was in April 2012. And or was it 2013?
No, it was 2012. It was 2012. No, it was
2013. 2013. So in April 2013, we went and watched the show. And I basically worked in sales and marketing up until that point. And my life was, I wanted to become one of the youngest CEOs of a FTSE 100 company. That's where my life was going. I'd earned over £100 million for other people. I managed 7 departments, 60 odd staff. I was 100% in the corporate life. And when I got ill, it made me think about things a little bit different. Yeah, so at the time when I went and watched this show, like everybody, you and I could go to Pizza Express and you go, do you know what? Their service wasn't that good, or the pizza wasn't that good, or this could be better. So I went through this sitting next to Janine.
Going on and on and on. And I just said, if you think you can do it better, then you should do it.
And that
I genuinely meant it, like, you should do it if you think you can do it better.
So the show finished, we drove home, and on the drive home, we had mapped out Pure Elite, apart from the name.
Wow.
Yeah,
I
cool.
love that. That's really cool.
Am I right in saying, Stu, you've just finished another challenge?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my legs are killing me.
He's a madman.
Yeah, so I because I've got so I've got 2 lung conditions, and my medication is an immune suppressant medication. So with everything that's going on with the coronavirus, I'm one of the people that gets told to isolate. I think there's 1.2 million people in the UK were told to go into isolation, of which I was one of them. And I noticed, just by not being in the gym and not being out walking, my breathing just plummeted. It got to the point where I'd be talking and you could hear as if it's like being asthmatic.
Yeah, just sounding out of breath.
So I'd be always out of breath. I'd walk up a flight of stairs. And I just went on Twitter and I saw one of the charities for one of my illnesses was doing a 12-week challenge, which was to climb the heights of Everest. Janine's laughing because I saw it as 12 weeks and said, I'll do it in 12 days.
And it's like, it's been recommended by the people who know about his condition, the effects that it has on individuals, and they've said, do this, but do it in 12 weeks. And I just love Stuart's personality of going, nah, I'll do it in 12 days.
Well, I did it in 11. I did it in 11 days.
Oh, I love it, even better.
So I aimed for 12 days and I managed to do it in 11. And you can hear my fitness has improved, my breathing's back to being normal. And it just goes to show that no matter who you are, that anything can just make your fitness drop. And I'm a 40-year-old guy that just by being told to stay indoors for a few weeks and going from doing 10,000 steps a day to some days I was doing like 300 or 400 steps just indoors. Yeah, it just goes like that. It goes really quickly.
It does. That's really inspiring. I love that.
It is, yeah, very good.
Yeah.
And he's on to another challenge now.
The
next thing that you're doing.
So, when I was diagnosed, there was one thing that the doctor said to me. So basically, you go through, because it's the first illness I've got is called sarcoidosis, which is an autoimmune disease. Okay. So it basically means my immune system identified my lungs as like a foreign body and attacked my lungs, leaving me with cavities. So they give me medication to turn my immune system down. How they find it is by process of elimination. So first it's, you might have lung cancer, and then they go, we've tested you, it's not cancer. It might be TB, we've tested it's not that. So once they went through everything, I remember sitting down with him and he went to me, you'll never run. Like, you'll never be able to do middle distance, you'll never be able to run properly. You can probably run like 10 meters, 20 meters. And it always stuck in my head. And after that, I got really fit and healthy, didn't I? I was really fit. But I would never run. I would use a spin bike, I would do rowing, I would do HIIT style running. So I might sprint 100 meters and then walk. But anyway, I've decided to train my lungs to run 5K, and I'm giving myself 10 weeks.
Ooh.
Nice. Not 12 weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's so cool.
So then, guys, obviously me and Rosie step on stage, but what goes behind stage? What goes on into running a show?
Well, I think the first thing to say is our very first show took 13 months to plan and orchestrate and get everything ready. That was from the concept and the idea, everything to do with the design, the marketing, even sourcing the right trophies, making sure that you can have the right sort of staff there, health and safety, insurance, all of that took 13 months. And the first 7 months, I didn't get a sign up for the first show. It took 7 months to get one person to sign up.
Wow.
So yeah, what goes into a show? I don't even know where to start. I think one thing that I've noticed is that whenever we have people work backstage, They're usually athletes and they offer to help. And when they've gone to the backstage part of it, they're always like, wow, I had no idea so much goes into the show. I had no idea there was so much that needs to be thought about. I suppose just things even like putting a presenter's pack together, which takes hours and hours of gathering people's information, typing that out and putting it into a pack, making sure that matches up with the judges' scorecards, creating the judges' scorecards, creating the staff packs backstage, liaising with the venues.
So that's one difference, say, from Pure Elite as a fitness model show to, say, some potential bodybuilding shows. So in a bodybuilding show, in the ones that I've gone and watched, your number is called out on stage and you can fill your format on the day. We use your name. So because we say your name's got to be printed on everything. And one of the things that we make sure that anyone's working backstage is you're never called by your number. So if you're backstage, it's not number 72, no, you say the person's name. So just making sure that the name is printed on everything. Like we can be printing for a week, just and then like 4 days before someone wants to change something, it's like it's not just a change, you've got to change it on like 44 documents.
So if any purely athletes who watch this, they will know that when it comes to 2 or 3 days before and they're like, can I change this? I'm like, you can't change anything. No, it'll take me about 2 hours, please.
No,
like,
you have been warned now.
yeah.
No, that's really good, because there's so many times when you're standing there and they're calling a number and you're like, it's not mine. Is it mine? Oh, yeah. I can't remember what number is anymore.
That's the thing, isn't it? If you like your numbers just for the day. So if people are calling numbers, no one's going to listen because you're not used to hearing that. But if you shout someone's name, not always, but more likely than not, they're going to be like, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, that's really
so. I know you've got you had some shows planned abroad. With those in mind, what else are the future goals for Pure Elite within the future? What we're going to see?
So a lot of the shows abroad obviously got cancelled. Well, every show abroad has been cancelled this year, and you'll know yourself in that. I think our first show abroad was 2016 in Estonia. And ever since then, we've been looking at expanding purely into different countries and just taking the way fitness model shows are. I'm a strong believer that the UK is the centre for fitness model federations. Every show I've seen from a fitness model side, the biggest shows are in the UK. I've seen shows that are in America. Fitness model federation shows are not as big in other countries as here. I do think they're going to grow bigger. I do think that China and India are massive, massive opportunities for the fitness model federation side. And everyone likes the idea of America, but you're always going to be competing against IFBB. You just are. From Pure Elite's point of view, just carry on doing the same thing. Just trying to expand as much as we can, but also trying to keep the same sort of I like saying family vibe, but it's not a family vibe. But the interaction that I can have with, in essence, Matt, you're my customer, and the interaction I can have with you, and obviously the bigger we get, the harder it gets, because there are so many platforms. Like you and I today messaged on Instagram, on the Purely Instagram. I've had people messaging my personal Instagram today. You've then obviously got email, you've got Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. So it's been able to expand, but in a way that you can still control what we've currently got and not lose what we've got.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think my favourite competitions that I've done, or ones that really, really stand out in my mind, are ones where I felt like I got individual treatment. And things like I did Germany last year. It was the Dennis James show, and his daughter was the makeup artist, and so she did my makeup, and then his wife was in there as well, and it was lovely. And then when I came on stage, his wife was cheering me on, and I just thought, they never met me before, but it was a really nice feeling, and they were so lovely to everyone as well. And I think you are so nervous because you've put everything into it. It means so much when you get on stage for you to then feel like that. I just think you perform much better as well.
I agree, and especially with the nerves. I always say to anybody that's competing, one, you need to accept that you're going to be nervous. That no matter who, like Beyonce before a concert is nervous, and she's a professional singer. Like she would be nervous before going on stage. I think that a part of mine and Janine's job is making sure that we can help you as much as possible. Even though it is a competition, it is also the hospitality industry. We want to make you feel welcome. We want to make you enjoy your experience because you're paying for the experience.
Yeah.
Memory of it, and when, like what you've just spoken about, when people go home, you want them to go away with, you know, a good vibe, with good thoughts about that experience. And even if they never compete again, but that they can go away and, you know, tell family and friends that the effort that they put into their prep turned out to be a really enjoyable experience on the day.
Yeah.
I can relate to that, because my first show, you guys, was 2014, and in Margate, and I think I came fourth in the other fight, but I thought to myself, I'm going to do this again, because the experience itself was fantastic, and the behind stage, everybody was helpful. There was no like snide comments and stuff like that. And I made that from that event on its own. I made a lot of friends I'm still friends with now from then. So I can definitely back you up on that. It's even though you don't, you know, you want to win, coming not coming top 3 or something like that, and listening to you. Remember your feedback, Stuart, as well from it as well. You just need to get bigger up top and stuff like that, which I went and worked on. And the following year, you know, lo and behold, I won my first amateur show. But I can definitely relate to that. Definitely.
I think what you touched on there is quite important. It's something I've been talking about on social media recently, about expectations within competing. I think it's amazing that everybody should sit at home and go, I'm going to compete, I'm going to win. I'm a very confident person. Some people might say bordering on arrogance. And if I was going to enter anything, I'm entering to win. But sometimes you have to take a step back and have a little bit of realisation. And if I'd never played football before, or if I'd never played football in front of spectators or at a stadium, I wouldn't expect to win first time. If I'd never played golf or anything like that, I wouldn't expect to pick up a tennis racket and I'm going to suddenly go and beat people. So I do think that sometimes, like you went over your first experience, you got experience from stepping on stage, you got some feedback, and then you built from there, is a story that needs to be spoken about more often. Because I
think if you don't get what you want, I think it drives you on to do more and more. Because I think if you do your first show and all of a sudden you come top, it's like, where can I go from here? Apart from, I'm going to keep the title. But I think people look at it in a negative way. You've got to turn that into a positive, because then it's a drive. Like, I want that top spot, and you drive and drive and drive all the time to get there.
Yeah, I keep saying to people, it's not meant to be easy. It's not.
If it was, everyone would do it, wouldn't they?
Exactly. Exactly. But I think because the fitness industry, the fitness model industry, is in essence 10 years old, whereas you wouldn't speak to someone to win a bodybuilding federation and say you can win it at first attempt. People would laugh at you. It's going to take you 10 years to build the physique that you need to go and step on stage and basically own the stage. So I'm hoping over time people sort of get that realization that, people can be freaks of nature. They can be someone that has been training in the gym for 20 years and they were a dancer and they're really good on stage or whatever. But the likelihood is you're probably not going to place the first time.
And so you guys give feedback, right? I guess after the shows, or
we change it every year, to be honest. And I try to find a happy medium. We started by giving it all the time. And basically, I've got a lot of negative replies from people asking for feedback because I'm honest. So if you're asking me for feedback, let me flip it this way. If I'm asking you to give me feedback, I already know what I'm good at. So I want you to tell me my weaknesses and the areas to improve on.
Oh, absolutely.
Some people didn't want that. They wanted me to say how great they were and how unlucky they were. And unfortunately, that's just not how I work within myself. I want you to tell me what I need to improve on. So then I changed it to giving feedback to the people that placed. Then I changed it to the pros. and the amateurs that have placed. And currently, as it stands, I think this year we tried just doing the pros and amateurs that have competed more than once and placed.
Okay.
Because I went to every amateur. I went, if you've never competed before, I went, the first thing I can say to 90% of you, it will be your posing. Because you will not have experienced what your posing is meant to be. You would have got on stage, you would have forgotten your posing, you would have got nervous. The 10,000 things that can go wrong with your posing.
I never ever understand why you wouldn't want creative feedback, because to me now competing, okay, it was different when I did my first competition, but I want someone to say, you need to improve on this and that's what you need to do, or change your bikini color or something like that, because my coach is always going to say, yes, you look great, this is the best you've looked or whatever, and my friends and family are always going to say, you're going to win, it's great. But when I look at a photo of myself, I pretty much pick out all the weaknesses or all the things that I want to improve. So I want to hear a judge say, you know, yes, your physique is great, but this is what you need to tweak with your posing or something like that. To me, every competition is about beating myself and improving on what the judges have asked me to improve on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one of the things that basically when I send the email out is I want to give meaningful feedback.
Yeah.
So I don't want to, for instance, an amateur that stepped on stage and I go, okay, I'm going to start from the top and work down and critique your whole physique, because that is the feedback I would give you. Yeah. Whereas I would rather say, speak to Matt and go, well, to be honest, Matt, you're a little bit top heavy. You need to work on the out sweep of your quad. That's meaningful feedback. That's something that isn't feedback for you, Matt. That was just random.
I was going to say, was that?
No, it wasn't. It was random. The first thing that came in my head. But to me, that's far more meaningful, literally, than basically saying to someone, do your whole physique, which can be, for some people that are only just stepping into this world, it can be disheartening and it can be too negative. Yeah,
I think me and Rosy have spoken about this before. You can have the best body in the gym, but once you step on stage, it's a whole different level. They say, I'm good in the gym. You see somebody who steps on stage, you go, oh wow. So we see that a lot.
What I think people forget is that, as you've just said, Matt, is that when you're at the gym and you're training, like, you see different kind of physiques. But I think people forget that, okay, although they look good around their friends and family and they look fantastic at their gym, you're going to a place where 100 to 200 to 300 people also look incredible.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people sometimes, not always, but sometimes forget about. Like, everybody looks good, which is why you need to come with that X factor. You know, you need to make sure that if you're a female, your hair and makeup looks good, your bikini looks good, that you're posing well, that you're bringing that little bit extra, because everybody is going to look good. That's the whole reason everybody's there, or at least, you know, you're expected to look great.
Yeah. And it's so, it comes down to everything on stage. You're being judged on everything. I think people just think, oh, I just need a killer physique, and then I've just got to stand there in the kind of poses that I've been taught. But it doesn't. I mean, if you look at all the top pros, there is something so watchable about them. You just can't take your eyes off them. And it's not just that they have a great physique. They know who they are when they're on stage. Yeah. They know what they're selling, and you know, they have probably chosen every single thing that's on their body exactly how they wanted to do their hair, their makeup, everything. You know, and I think, well, you wouldn't know that with your first competition, but I do think that people really, really overlook that it's a whole package.
Yeah, definitely. And even people forgetting that you're judged the whole time you're on stage.
Yeah.
So I could have people at the back of the stage, and let's say I've got 10 people at the back and 10 people at the front, and the people at the back think I'm not looking at them, but I'm actually I'm still comparing. I'm still looking at the person in front of me, and I'll be looking past them, looking at them, and I'm like, you might have been standing there for 10 minutes and you thought you could relax. Or we always joke, there was one person playing with the curtain once.
That was a show we went to go watch.
Yeah.
There was a show we went to go watch, and we were just looking and was like, have you seen that guy at the back playing with the curtain? What is he doing? And another guy, which was on our stage, he was at the back, and I'm just watching, you know, in the back of the light, and he's chewing gum. And I'm like, are you seriously just chomping away on your chewing gum? I was like, come here. And he's moved on, like, spit it out. And spat it in my hand. I was like, do I have to do that again? Look, everyone's like putting in the effort in to look incredible, and you've got someone like,
yeah. And then they're really shocked when they don't win.
Yeah.
So off the back of that, what are your most memorable best and worst experiences that you've had?
To be honest, probably the first show was probably the best. It took 13 months. I remember
There was some disasters on the day.
yeah, but it was the fact that it happened because I came from a completely different career. I remember speaking to sponsors beforehand. They all sort of laughed at me. It's never going to work. People aren't going to be interested in a fitness model show like that. Friends and family, like, why are you turning your life on a career? I had a really, really good career, and I was lucky to have the type of career and salary that most people would dream of. So a lot of friends and family thought it was weird to do that, and I put everything into purely, like, anything that wasn't bolted down, I sold, just to keep money coming in to be able to basically have my.
I was working 2 jobs.
Yeah, Janine was working 2 jobs, and I remember it was about 4 or 5 weeks before. About 4 or 5 weeks before, there wasn't enough competitors to even pay for the venue, and I was like, "Well, this is going to be fun." And I was just literally 6 months on Twitter. I was just connecting with people, talking with people, and in the space of about 2 weeks, we went from me having to sell the car to get some money in, to we had 88 competitors, and it suddenly made it. I think we made like £40, so we didn't lose any money. And then from that moment, I knew that it would work. I was like, if I can break even, my business plan was always break even, then I can make money in the future, because it was my full-time job. And I think sometimes people don't necessarily understand that purely is my full-time job. It's not only have I got to pay for everything, I've got to pay for my coffee.
And coffee is important in the running of a show, I presume.
Oh, it is.
It's the most important thing.
The worst thing, I would say, this year.
Yeah. It's literally put a stop to everything.
Yeah, because it's owning an events company, no matter what events company you own, and obviously I know you two know other promoters as well. Venues clearly aren't refunding, because if they refunded, they would go bankrupt. Completely understand that. Every order that we put in is obviously the beginning of the year. None of that's refundable. We've got all of our customers and competitors who are looking forward to something, and they're sort of messaging me, asking me for questions about the government, which I can't even answer. I can't answer if a venue's going to be open or if it's not going to be open, or what sort of testing needs to be done. We're all in the same boat and we're all waiting, and that sort of feeling of powerlessness was
or just not even being able to provide an answer. One of the things that I enjoy about the work and the interaction and show day, especially on show day, is that I can always provide an answer. If you ask me a question, I am the person on show day with all of the answers. So when people ask and I'm like, I can't even give you an assumption, I can't guess, I have literally zero idea, and we're all just waiting and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Great. Do you have any tips for first-time competitors?
Yeah, smile on stage.
Yep.
And the way to smile is bring someone with you. So you don't have to bring a massive crowd, it helps, but bring the loudest person you know, give them a megaphone, and when they shout your name, smile naturally.
Yeah.
Because you've probably seen people that just click here. You've probably seen people that you try and fake smile, and it doesn't look that good, and everyone's nervous, and trying to smile with dry mouth is pretty difficult. So just bring someone with you that is loud.
I like that.
I think maybe just beforehand is actually practice your posing. And I say this from just personal experience. The first time that I competed, I'm an ex-dancer, and I was very confident in being able to walk really well in heels and just move really well. I was actually arrogant, to be honest. I won't even say confident. I was arrogant about the fact that I didn't really need to practice posing. I was like, I've danced since I was 6. I know how to strut around in heels. I don't need to practice. I just need to get on stage and move around. And then when I got on stage and realised I had no idea what I was doing, I made a bit of a fool out of myself. Luckily, I could laugh it off, but some people are not so good at it. So I would just say make sure you really practice your posing so that when it does come to being on stage, you're comfortable enough to give the best performance that you can.
Yeah, it's good advice.
So I'll combine two questions here. What do you look for when judging, and how do you select your judges for shows?
So I'll answer the second one first. It's offered to the overall winners. So if someone's an overall winner, it's offered to them, and then I would either spend time talking to them about judging to see if it's something for them. Not everybody wants to do it. I think there's like people put being a judge on a pedestal, and then I think sometimes people do it and realise I won't swear. It's hard work, and a lot harder work than you think it's going to be. To be quite honest, but in essence, it's one of the prizes for being a pro overall. Secondary to that, so say someone like yourself. So you're what I would class as one of our long-term pros. You're a world champion. You are someone that has been around Pure Elite now for 5-6 years. So then you would be in a bracket of people as well that I'd be like, okay, if this overall turned it down, you've been around Pure Elite long enough to understand. So when I sit down and talk to you about what it means to judge, you get it. In the past, I used to have an IFBB pro, a WBFF pro, myself, and a Pure Elite pro. Over the years, I've changed it to being just Pure Elite pros. And then how do I pick who's going to win? Criteria, basically. So depending on what the criteria is, it's making sure that you are always sticking to it. I'll give you an example. So Josh Blue in November entered into the fitness model category and muscle model. The previous 2 years, he had obviously won fitness model. He was the pro world champion for fitness model, and he's entered into that category. And I have to be honest to the criteria, hence why he didn't place. He was no longer a fitness model. So you've got to be ruthless on that. I think you did the same show. I believe he did the second show that Tom Coleman did, and he did fitness and muscle. And I didn't place him in fitness model either. Yeah. And I remember the whole audience just went, like, he has a place. I'm like, well, he's not a fitness model. Like, I'm not just placing someone for the sake of placing someone. So you really have to stick to the criteria, and you have to be ruthless with the criteria. From that, if people are similar sort of physiques and that type of thing, that's when it goes to the extra things in a fitness model federation. That's where you've got all of the posing, the way their presence is on stage. It can even go down to, on guys' shorts, it can go down to bikinis on some females. It can be hair and makeup. But to me, that's like the extra 1 or 2%. I always say somebody who can pose really well, clearly, if you've got a rubbish physique, you're not going to win. But if you've got a really good physique and your posing is phenomenal, you've massively increased your chances, because most people underestimate the posing side.
Yeah, they really do. Would you say things like it differs in the lineup? Because say I've seen people, and I've been in shows as well, where you know, the people have said, oh, you should have won that, or I've seen people where I thought they should have won, and they, you know, they were conditioned to hell, they looked amazing, but they didn't fit with the rest of the lineup, so they didn't win because maybe the rest of the lineup was softer than they were.
What tends to happen is, again, we have to stick very, very much to the criteria. So you can have a situation where, let's say, the ideal physique looks like number one. Okay, so you want everyone to look like number one, and my judges have pictures of what the physique should look like, and they have all of the criteria, and they also have previous winners, why I placed them. Okay. So people know what I was thinking, so they can read that in like a little handbook. So if you've got number one, and then let's imagine 5 people come out on stage, and one of them looks like number one, 3 of them are like a number 0, and one of them's a number 2. Right. Okay, so the number one is the ideal that you want. Okay, but let's imagine that ideal person is the worst person at posing. Like they're just last on stage. They didn't tan. Their hair looks like they've been dragged through a hedge. Like anything that went wrong, but their physique matches the criteria. Then you've got someone that looks like a number 2 who is leaner, got more muscle separation, but their posing is good. It's better than the number one, but it isn't as good as the zeros. Then you've got the people in zero, which are softer, but their hair and makeup is better, their tan is better, their posing is better. They basically ticked every little thing, and their physique is just off. That's where you have to make the decision. Most people instantly go for the person that looks leaner and they've got far more muscle separation. What I would tend to do is look how much past the criteria they are, and are they falling into another category. If they're falling into another category and they are also doing that category, I'm like, well, this is like a warm-up for them, because they're doing bikini, they're really a fitness model, they're entered into fitness model, they need to make sure they dominate fitness model. The zeros, which dominate everything, but they may be 1 or 2% body fat, but their posing was brilliant, everything else just matched the criteria. That's why they would place higher than the person that was leaner, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, I think sometimes that is quite hard to understand with shows, and you know, everyone's physique is different and their personality. So there are definitely not just classes but federations that do suit, I think, people better.
Yes.
And that
Definitely.
Finding where you fit is sometimes takes a while, I think.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things is people that judge the show afterwards on pictures.
Oh, yes.
Because they look at the picture, and I could get a picture of Matt where he's come first, and at that split second when Matt Marsh has taken the picture, bearing in mind that's a millisecond that's taken, that Matt's breathing out and he's just relaxed, so his abs aren't defined, his legs are now soft, so you can't see any visible separation, and everyone else next to him's tensed. And then the picture will get shared, and everyone go, "What, he won?" I'm like, you've literally seen you've seen like a flash, like you haven't seen what he looked like, and you haven't seen the posing, which is a part of the Marketing and Fitness Model Federation. So that can be frustrating.
And it's one of the reasons why, if you've ever been a male in a pure elite show and you're either in fitness or muscle, you will hear me screaming by the stage, like, legs, tension legs. Because it's like, this is now the point where you can tell everyone looks great. It's probably going to be photos that are shared. Make sure that you don't have people going, what was, like, why did he look terrible?
And that's something that so we incorporate when we do our posing lessons, to talk to people about, what if you win? Like, have you practiced your pose? How are you going to stand with your trophy? Because majority of the time, and Matt will know this, you'll probably know this, the winner is so excited and so gassed, they just relax everything. Because it's just that adrenaline has left their body, and then there'll be somebody that plays fourth.
Who's like,
they're a little bit annoyed, right? They're not happy where they placed, and they're just tensing. And the picture comes out, and they look phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, phenomenal. It's like they literally outdid you on your winning picture.
Well, I think we had it in one of our first or second shows, the guy who won overall, who went on to be an IFBB pro, who had amazing legs at the time he was posing, because he was just so happy. The two guys next to him were really going for it, and he's just smiling because he doesn't look as conditioned whatsoever.
Yeah, our first show, which people always like to talk about, was Tom Coleman came second, and the guy that beats him, we've got a picture where they're all lined up on stage, and the guy is shredded, and he's tensing, and that's the one I share more often. But the winning picture where he's holding the check, he's just relaxed, but Tom isn't. Right? And he looks like he's got no condition in his legs at all, because he's just completely relaxed. Yeah. Anybody watching, practice what happens if you win.
Yeah, definitely. So briefly, what do you look for in a world champion?
Good question.
Are you talking about, say, a category world champion or an overall?
No, the overall. So when you've got all the guys from the categories lining up and the girls lining up, what is that? Because they're all winners.
Yes.
What's that bit extra?
So it's basically the person that matches the criteria for their category the most. So that's the number one thought process. The second thought process, that at Pure Elite, the overall is also like an ambassador role. They're the person that gets the most. They will appear on, well, take Josh. We was flying Josh to Australia to judge in Australia. He went to Ireland. He obviously features on the front of our magazine. He's the person that is on the flyers. So it also needs to be somebody that, if you're sitting at home and you've never competed, you look at that flyer and go, wow, I can do that. I want to do that. So if you had a winner of a category, which could happen, let's imagine 2 people turned up and they won that category and they were quite soft and they didn't match the criteria that much, they're not going to be deserved of the overall.
No.
If somebody wins, you could win Beachbody or men's physique and you are 100% exactly what I'm looking for within that category, then you can be overall.
Yeah, cool. I get that. So obviously we know that COVID has got in the way of all our shows that we so desperately want to do. Have you got dates now for hopefully the end of the year?
Yeah, so we've had to cancel. You're the first people to know. So today, Dublin has been cancelled.
Postponed. Move to next year.
Right. Okay.
And Northern Ireland as well. So those 2 shows are gone. So we've got October the 24th in High Wycombe, which is the World Championships, followed by the end of year ball, which is in the same place on the 25th of October. And I'm probably 95% convinced it's going to go ahead, purely because, one, I don't think that theatres, so take fitness model out of it, I don't think theatres can go nearly a year without any business. I think they'll go out of business. So I think the government would have to do something. And also sports, because fitness model federations and bodybuilding federations fall into sports and entertainment. I can't imagine a world where in October there aren't people watching football or there aren't people watching rugby. I just don't believe that's a thing. I don't believe that Marvel and Disney won't be making films and people are going to the cinema.
Yeah.
I do believe that we will potentially have to test everybody that goes into a public arena, whether they're supplied by the government or whether we have to buy them ourselves. A lot of tests that I've seen that the government are using now for the NHS, etc., they're rapidly getting to the point where you can get really fast diagnostics to say whether you are currently infected or whether you've had it before in the past. So I think by October, that's potentially the world we will live in.
I've just thought, will we all have to wear like masks at the ball? Like, will I have to get like a glittery like mask to go with my outfit?
Well, not if everyone gets tested before they go in.
I look forward to what the theme's going to be for the ball, because I am going to be coming to the ball.
But it's gold. So at the moment it's gold, but it might be gold masks. But,
they were joking about us having to wear them on stage, and I thought, but when you get marked on your overall look, what does that do?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, I think we're gonna. Well,
the photos would be interesting with flyers with that. Everybody with masks on in the flyers. For the
Love it.
Okay, this is something that me and Rosy do at the end of the interview. We're quick fire round. We're going to fire a few questions at you.
Yeah.
So I'll go first for this one. Favorite guilty pleasure food?
Chocolate.
Yeah.
cheese.
Nice. Okay. Any hidden talent?
I've got double jointed shoulders and I can make my elbows touch.
Wow.
She can actually. Yeah, it's quite weird. Do I have a hidden talent?
I don't think your talents are hidden.
Thanks. No, I don't have musical instrument or anything. I'll beat you at any computer game on a PlayStation. There you go.
Ooh.
Nice.
Favorite place you've been in the world?
Dubai. Ooh, Scotland.
Yeah, Hong Kong and Scotland.
They're very different, but I like it. Okay, and also your favourite bodybuilder / athlete of all time?
All time.
Arnold. I have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, cool. Well, thank you very much, guys. It was really interesting. I hope that people got what it really takes to run a federation, and what, like, your thought process behind everything as well. I think where you touched on judging and thinking about everything, and also this whole judging people with photos. I think I've seen a lot of that where, I've judged and I've sat where judges are, and unless you are there, I think people don't realize what you are seeing. They might look at their mate, but they're not looking at the rest of the lineup, and that's a really, really important note, I think.
Yeah. And I even think, like you, I've judged and I've gone and watched shows. The concentration from judging and watching the show is completely different. Because I can be sitting watching a show and I'll go, oh, this is who I would place. But then I'm talking to the person next to me and I'm looking around. I've picked up my phone, looked at my phone. It's not the same concentration. You know yourself. You judge and you're brain dead for 2 days afterwards.
Yeah.
It's really bad on prep as well. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. And hopefully we can come and see your shows very soon. And the second half of the year will go much better than the first, I'm sure.
Yeah,
you'll definitely be seeing me at the end of the year anyway, so I'll definitely be around.
You're going to get a gold tie, yeah?
A nice glittery face mask.
Whole suit.
But you know High Wycombe, isn't it? It's near Heathrow.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Right, see you later.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.